In the quiet corners of our world, heroes often go unnoticed. They don't wear capes or seek the spotlight. Sometimes they just carry a mop and a bucket. This is the story of one such hero, Samuel Carter. Samuel was an elderly janitor, a man whose life had settled into a quiet rhythm after his wife passed away and his daughter grew up and moved out. The large, empty house echoed with silence, a stark contrast to the bustling school where he worked. The squeak of his mop on the polished floors, the clang of the locker doors, the distant chatter of students' these were the sounds that filled his days. He found a certain peace in the routine, in the tangible results of his labor. A clean hallway, a spotless classroom. It gave him a sense of purpose. But in the quiet moments, a familiar loneliness would creep in, a feeling of being on the sidelines of life. Every day, Samuel saw hundreds of faces pass by, a vibrant river of youth and energy. But one face began to stand out. Ethan. He was a freshman, with shoulders perpetually slumped and eyes that always seemed to be studying the floor. Samuel would often find him tucked away in the stairwell during lunch, his sandwich untouched, his world shrunk to the size of a concrete step. He was a ghost in the crowded halls, invisible to his peers, an easy target for their casual cruelty. One afternoon, Samuel found Ethan in their usual spot, his small frame trembling. Without a word, Samuel sat down on the step below him, his presence a quiet anchor in the boy's turbulent world. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't offer empty platitudes. He just waited. And slowly, like a dam breaking, Ethan's story tumbled out, the whispers in the hallway, the shoves, the crushing weight of being utterly alone. Samuel listened. He didn't interrupt, didn't judge, didn't offer quick fixes. He just listened, his quiet attention a rare gift. He simply said, "That sounds really hard, son." And for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt seen. This became their ritual. A quiet conversation in the stairwell, a safe space where Ethan could shed his armor and just be a kid who was hurting. Samuel started sharing little bits of his own life. He talked about his late wife, her love for gardening, the silly arguments they used to have. He talked about his daughter, how he missed her but was proud of the woman she had become. He showed Ethan that even adults feel lonely sometimes, that life is a tapestry of joy and sorrow, connection and loss. Through these stories, the old janitor and the young boy forged an unlikely bond, a friendship built on shared vulnerability and mutual respect. One day, the usual cloud over Ethan was darker than ever. He clutched a crumpled piece of paper in his hand, a math test, covered in red ink. A big, fat F stared up at him. "I'm just stupid," he mumbled, his voice thick with defeat. "Everyone's right. I'm just stupid." Samuel looked at the boy, his heart aching. He sat down and gently took the test paper. "Stupid! I don't think so," he said, his voice soft but firm. "Let me tell you something, Ethan. When I was your age, numbers looked like a foreign language to me. I thought my brain was broken." He then shared how a patient teacher had sat with him, just like this, and showed him that it wasn't about being smart or stupid. It was about finding a different way to look at the problem. That afternoon, and for many afternoons after, the stairwell transformed into a classroom. With his wrinkled, calloused hands, Samuel drew diagrams on a dusty notepad. He explained fractions using slices of an imaginary pie and solved for X with stories about missing treasures. He was patient, methodical, and endlessly encouraging. He didn't just teach Ethan math. He taught him that it was okay to struggle, that failure wasn't a final verdict, and that he was capable of more than he believed. The day of the retest came. Ethan walked into the classroom with a knot of anxiety in his stomach, but also with Samuel's calm voice echoing in his head. He took a deep breath, looked at the first problem, and began. A week later, he found Samuel polishing the trophy case in the main hall. He ran up, a wide, genuine smile splitting his face for the first time in months. He held up a new test paper. This time, a bright red B+ sat at the top. Samuel smiled, a deep, warm smile that reached his eyes. "I knew you could do it, son," he said, clapping a proud hand on Ethan's shoulder. It wasn't just a grade. It was a victory, a testament to the fact that someone believed in him. From that day on, Ethan's shoulders straightened. He started looking people in the eye. He even joined the chess club. He still had tough days, but he was no longer adrift. He had an anchor. Years passed. Ethan graduated and went on to college, but he never forgot the janitor who had saved him. He would visit during holidays, sharing stories of his new life, his voice now confident and clear. Samuel watched him grow from a lost boy into a remarkable young man, and his heart swelled with a quiet pride. The time came for Samuel to retire. The school decided to honor him at the final assembly of the year. Samuel stood awkwardly on the stage, feeling out of place in the spotlight he had always avoided. The principal gave a nice speech, thanking him for his decades of service, for his hard work in keeping the school clean and safe. The students applauded politely. As the applause died down, a voice called out from the audience, "Wait, there's more." A tall, well-dressed man stood up and walked towards the stage. It was Ethan, now a successful architect. The crowd murmured, confused. Ethan took the microphone, his eyes finding Samuel's. "Everyone here knows Mr. Carter as the man who kept our floors clean," he began, his voice ringing with emotion. "But I know him as the man who saved my life." A hush fell over the auditorium. When I was a freshman here, Ethan continued, I was lost. I was bullied, I was failing, and I believed I was worthless. I thought about ending it all. But every day, in a quiet stairwell, this man sat with me. He didn't have a degree in counseling. He just had a kind heart and the willingness to listen. He taught me math, but more importantly, he taught me that I mattered. He was my hero when I didn't have one. Tears streamed down Ethan's face as he turned to Samuel. You didn't just mop the floors, Mr. Carter. You cleaned up the messes in a young boy's soul. You are the reason I am standing here today. Thank you. The auditorium erupted. It wasn't polite applause this time. It was a thundering, heartfelt, standing ovation. Students, teachers, parents, everyone was on their feet, their eyes filled with tears, honoring the quiet janitor. Samuel stood on the stage, overwhelmed, a single tear tracing a path down his weathered cheek. In that moment, he understood. His life hadn't been small or insignificant. The quiet routines, the lonely days, they had been the backdrop for something profound. He hadn't just been a janitor. He had been a guardian, a mentor, a friend. And as he walked off that stage into the embrace of the boy he had saved, Samuel Carter knew that his quiet life had echoed with more meaning than he could ever have imagined. Remember that kindness is a superpower we all possess. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories.